Parents, listen to this story. Huge changes are coming to the SATs.
Next weekend, high schoolers across the country will take the new version of this test. 41 Action News reporter Andres Gutierrez joins us to break down. Okay, Andres, what does this mean for our kids out there?
Yeah, so there are a lot of small changes in this test that make up one major overhaul. High school students I spoke with are bracing themselves for this.
Mira Arvind will be among the first to take the new version of the SAT. It didn't take much for the ambitious Blue Valley West junior to notice the differences.
The real challenge is in figuring out what the problem is asking and trying to work it out that way, not really the actual math part. That's
because the new SAT features more story-based math problems, and that's not all.
Really, the vocab that's going to be tested on the SAT is much more contextual. It's going to be focused on kind of the different meanings of the same word.
Caleb Pierce is the president of Get Smarter Prep. Here are the other changes he says students can expect. The writing section is optional, so instead of grading the test on a 2400 scale, it's going back to 1600. There are no longer any penalties for wrong answers, and instead of 5 answer choices for a question, you'll only have 4. So, should students be stressed out about this new test?
I know for me that I would just get in there and I'd be like, okay, this is everything that's going to determine my future. And it really isn't. It's not the end of the world.
UMKC admissions director Tamara Byland agrees.
We do know that high school students' GPA and how they're performing in the classroom on a daily basis is a really strong indicator of how they're going to perform in college.
So, what's Mira's best advice for her classmates getting ready for the SAT?
Take more practice tests and just get used to how the new test is written, because that's the biggest difference is adjusting to the changes.
Her guidance counselor John Stone has been gearing up kids for this change for months.
We used to talk about if you're going to the east or west coast, maybe taking more of the SAT, and that's not really the case anymore.
I want to show you some of the differences on the test itself. The old SAT used to have these sentence completion questions where you had to actually fill in the blank, but that's not the case anymore. They are actually gone. Instead, the new reading section of the SAT will have questions that build on each other. The students will actually be prompted to answer a question about that passage. For example, in this case, it's the author's tone. And in the next question, they'll go ahead and have to cite evidence for the answer in the previous question. So if you get the first one wrong, the second one and the third one will most likely also be wrong. Now, if you can't afford to pay for a tutor to get your child some test prep, there is some help for you. We'll go ahead and explain that later in the newscast. Andres Gutierrez, 41 Action News.
Wow.